When you get more engagements, it's a sign that you are broadening your appeal. When you broaden your appeal, you weaken your message. The conversion goes down.
So I'm delighted to welcome Dean Seddon with me today. So Dean's written this book called Getting Growing, which you can see here. And I'm afraid I'm one of the type of people that when I read a book, I basically mark things in the book. And the way that I was always taught to read a book is I read it from cover to cover, and I then go back and make notes. And one of the final notes I always make is what 3 key actions am I going to do as a result of reading the book? Because we all have an absence of time. We all have very little time to actually spend on things. But what separates the people who actually move forward from the people who stand still or potentially go backwards is the people who move forward always take actions. So I'm delighted you could be with us here today, Dean. So actually you're across the border in Plymouth, across the Tamar, which to people in Cornwall almost seems like another country at times, doesn't it? Although we speak the same language.
Don't hold that against me that I'm across the bridge. The interesting thing is I like the cream and then the jam. So I don't know how you feel, whether you want to continue the conversation now or not, but it's cream then jam, not jam then cream.
So are you a true Janner then?
Officially, no. So I've been here for where are we, 13 years. I moved down here for work. And I tell the story of around 2015, I had the option of going back up north to near Manchester, where I came from originally, where I was born. And my kids had been in Devon for so long that I worried about going back to near a big city and all that kind of built up this, that they weren't necessarily prepared for life up there. So I stayed here. Even though my work takes me everywhere and I travel a lot, I stayed here because it is, compared to the UK, lower crime, less all that kind of stuff. So no, I'm from up north, but I've stuck it out down here.
Because they always refer to Plymouth as, is it Devon's Ocean City?
What is it? Yeah, I think they used to, I know a funny story about that. We did a video for the Plymouth Live or Plymouth Herald many years ago. And when you do a TV commercial, you basically have to get clearance on everything you say, that it's a factual and evidence-backed. You can't just put promises on TV. And Plymouth's official title is Britain's Ocean City. And so when we submitted that catchphrase as part of the commercial and said Britain's Ocean City, they asked us to substantiate the claim that it is Britain's Ocean City. And the only way we could substantiate the claim was to take a photograph of one of the road signs where it says, "Welcome to Plymouth, Britain's Ocean City." And it passed.
So talking about Plymouth, I went to boarding school, and when I finished my O-levels in 1977, I had a week's outward bound on Drake's Island when it was an adventure centre.
I've always wanted to go on there.
Absolutely amazing place. So we went kayaking, sailing, rock climbing using Drake's Island as a base. And I think Drake's Island is one of those places. And did I see in the news someone wants to buy the island to moor their boat on or something like that? I saw that recently.
Yeah, there's been talks of having a big hotel there. There's been like a luxury spa retreat, all sorts of stuff there. But I don't know what's happening of late, but there's been a lot of people going, we want to use it, because it's a very nice place. Little island in the middle of the Sound. It's brilliant.
I think it's a very special place. So what I would like to start with, if I may, Dean, is the question I always ask. I would love to for you to share with us what has led you here doing what you now do. What does that journey look like for you?
We were talking about this a little bit before we started, about why do I do what I do? And I'm helping my younger self, basically. I didn't really fully appreciate I'm helping my younger self, but my first business that I started, it didn't work out. I ended up in a lot of debt, made a lot of mistakes because I didn't have any help, didn't have anybody around me to advise me or help me. I'd built up a business basically off a little bit of hustle and a few contacts. And then, as I say now, I ran out of leads, ran out of clients, and then ran out of money. And it usually works out that way. So when I wrote the book, and why do I do what I do, it is really to help the me that was working class kid, council estate, son of a coal miner, wanted to improve my chances in life, and thought the best way was a business. And the first business didn't work because I didn't understand how to get customers, basically. So really, why do I do what I'm doing? I'm trying to help people because I think small businesses basically are more good for society. I actually don't think they're evil, tax dodging. I actually think they help communities, small business, local businesses. So I want to help them. I want to help the people who run them because I saw how much it changed my life. The whole trajectory of my family changed because I started a business. And ultimately, I want to make sure that people don't go through the scenario that I went through. And I think that's what I've been doing on autopilot for 25 years.
So when you said it affected the trajectory of your life, presumably there were good and bads, weren't there, of that trajectory, wasn't it? Things that improved and things that hadn't.
Looking backwards, I would say everything improved. But there were moments that were very unpleasant and seasons that were very difficult. So what did it do for me in terms of my kids have a whole different life, a better life than I ever had. So that's worth every penny of pain for me. Actually, the weird bit is there were some horrible moments. So I'll give you one big horrible moment. When I knew my business wasn't working, I was in total denial. And I was basically hunting for a miracle. But because a customer had gone bust and I was reliant on them, I ended up where I was looking for a miracle. And every day I would go into the office looking for a miracle. And there'd be letters piling up of people saying, you've not paid a bill and this hasn't been paid. And I could not face those bills. I couldn't even look at them. I had to pretend they didn't exist. I was terrified of opening them. I hate opening the mail today because of that. So there is these lasting negatives, but actually I got stronger through it. There was a moment where I couldn't get out my bedroom because of the humiliation of things not working out. So I'd gone through all of that stuff, but now I look backwards now and go, I'm not sure if everything had worked perfectly, I would have actually made it, because there was some resilience that I learned unpleasantly, some PTSD probably that I've got from that. But actually, on the whole, I made something of it, I think is the best way of saying it.
So is that one of the reasons why you wrote the book then?
Yeah. So around 2022, I actually had a coach and they said to me, you're trying to help the world and your business can't help the world, but think about what else could you do that could help the world? And a book is the easiest thing. It's not the easiest thing, but it's the easiest thing to get out to somebody. My social media content is trying to help the world. My business is helping clients, but the book was a way to get it out, share it with people, and help people avoid some of the bits that I want to do. It's my little mission, if you will. But that's why I wrote the book, yeah.
So the book is obviously based on the premise of social selling, which I think to a certain extent is one of your pet phrases of what you actually do. What do you actually mean by social selling?
If we look at the internet, it's still with AI, the biggest opportunity to reach more people than anything we can do in person, because it scales us, basically. It gives us the ability. If we were meeting in a networking event, I can only meet you and whoever's in that room. Social media gives us a much bigger room, a global room. So it's then about, okay, from my computer, I can acquire customers anywhere in the world for free, as long as I have the right plan, as long as I have the right focus. So social selling is not just firing out copy and paste pitches. It's strategically using a social channel to build a business by leveraging yourself.
So I think the internet has given us a much bigger platform, hasn't it, for that wider audience. But again, we're coming back to some of the traditional things that basically you have to build relationships, you have to build trust, isn't it? I think one of the biggest phrases about marketing is before people buy, they need to have to know and trust you, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got access to the world, but it doesn't mean they'll buy from you unless they believe in you, you have some credibility, and they like working with you. In my line of business, one of the reasons I put so much content out is because it's not just getting my message out, it's getting me out there, and people will either love me, hate me, or not care less. But the people who love me will actually engage with me, talk to me, and potentially buy from me. So it is, in one sense, the fundamentals of selling and marketing, even through a digital platform, have not changed. Might take a little longer than maybe meeting somebody in person because you can pick up on them a little bit easier. But the fundamentals haven't changed. It's still people buying from people.
And I don't think that will ever change to a certain extent, will it? Because we're humans. We need those relationships. We need those interactions, don't we?
Yeah, and I think trust's going to become more important, because if you think about it, AI is allowing us to do things that are incredible, but now we don't know what's real. So trust and building trust is going to be even more important as AI rolls out more and more and more.
So there are obviously certain things that you can do on social media to build that trust. What are your top 3 things that people need to do to build that trust on social media?
Okay, so I would say, first of all, one of the big things to build trust is just be consistent, both in how you show up and the message you show up with. If one day you're promoting this thing and talking about this thing, and then the next day you're talking about something else, you look a little bit like fly by night. So I always talk about, if you want people to remember you and build trust, literally just showing up builds trust. A consistent message shows trust. Showing proof builds trust. I would say they're your three big things: just being present, being consistent with the message, and sharing your results and what's happened. When you do those things regularly, people will begin to trust you.
So if we look at a lot of posts on social media, some of them can come across as bland because people haven't shared their personality type, have they? What they're about. And I think those posts, I'd be interested in your opinion, are less likely to get comments or create more connections, isn't it?
Yeah, so I call it Wikipedia content. So Wikipedia content is factual, accurate. There's no opinion in there. It's all cited. And that's great for Wikipedia, but when you're trying to build a connection, it needs opinion. It needs, or what I call APE, APE. So it needs an angle, a viewpoint, a way of looking at it. It needs a perspective, in other words, your opinions on it, and it needs your experience, something that you've seen, either in your own career, in your own life, or in a client's life. If you put those things into the pot, it makes Wikipedia content new, fresh, and unique because it's your perspective on something. I always say everything that probably needs to be said, everything I know, is already on the internet. It's already there somewhere. So the only thing that makes what we say different is our slant, our angle, our viewpoint. Otherwise, you're just putting out stuff that ChatGPT could tell you.
I always say Dr. Google, maybe it's not Dr. Google anymore, but Dr. Google has a lot to answer for, doesn't he?
Yeah, we're not short of information. We're short of perspective.
I always believe as professionals, it's our job to present information and then we then get paid for implementing it. Is that how you would see it?
Yeah, I think you know this. All the information is out there. People read books, people buy courses, people know things, but the difference between knowing and getting the result is doing. And I think that whole piece about implementing what you know is the gap that stops many people hitting their goals. And I'll give you an example of this. I'm doing quite a significant change in my business at the moment. and just changing the way things are. We've been doing something for 8 years. It needs a refresh. It's not quite as good as it used to be. The market's moved on a little bit. It's scary to take the leap and do something new because you have no guarantee it's going to work. And it feels quite safe to stick with what you know. Instinctively, I know that we need to move on. I have the information that tells me I need to move on, but I have to be prepared to risk taking action, risk failure, and also let go of the old way. And most people struggle with that for so long that they never fully realize what could be, because that scary bit of implementation where things are a bit more messy, it's not as clean, it's not as predictable, it's not safe, all of those things. But implementation, you're absolutely right. Implementation is what separates the people who achieve and the people who don't.
So I think it almost comes back to focus as well, doesn't it? Because actually in our own businesses, doesn't matter what we do, there's so many things that we could do. How do we work out what we should focus on? And I think your book is very good in that you come up with your MVC, don't you?
Yeah, minimum viable. I can't say it now. Yeah, you can't serve everybody all at once. You can't sell 3 different products at once, especially on social media, because the bandwidth of people's attention is so tiny. And then there's the bandwidth of our own capacity as individuals. If I'm trying to talk to 3 different customers, and I've got 3 different services, you're an accountant, for an example, right? Yes, you can go, hang on a minute, I could do solopreneurs tax returns. Yes, I could do larger businesses full accounts. Yes, I could do even bigger businesses accounts. It's all the same kind of stuff, but actually how you talk to those 3 different groups is very different. We see things differently, the scale's different, their perspective, even the language is different. And so when I'm thinking about those 3 different groups and I go to social media, it's highly risky that I try to go, how do I talk to all 3 at the same time? And trying to talk to all 3 about at the same time, I end up missing all 3 at the same time. So it's really difficult from I'm on social media point of view, but it's also really difficult mentally and bandwidth for me to go, how do I resonate with 3 different groups about 3 different things all at the same time? It's very difficult. And I do see a lot of people trying to do that and then going, why is social media not working for me? Because you are trying to do too much at once. There's a great film I like to watch every so often. It's one of my rewatches called A Bridge Too Far. It's a World War II film. I love World War II films. And it's about the Allied forces trying to capture all of these bridges on the German front. And I can't remember how many bridges there are, whether it's 6 or 7 bridges. And the idea is they'll capture these bridges and basically do like a surge. And if they don't capture all the bridges, the whole operation fails. And guess what? There was a bridge too far. One bridge they couldn't hold, and it caused the whole operation to come down. And social media is very similar. If you try to take on too many bridges at once, you end up where you can't sustain it, you can't maintain it, you confuse more people, it's operationally difficult, and so it doesn't work.
Because I think a lot of people in business think that one size will fit all, that we just need to have one message that goes out to everybody. But you're right. Different people, it resonates with different people will react to it, different people will take it on board, different people will actually hear different parts of that same message, wasn't it? So I think for me, you mentioned in your book a couple of things that proved to me that maybe I need to think about doing things differently. And one of them was the Ebbinghaus effect, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the funny thing is about human nature is that what we believe, there's instinct, and the more I'm seeing things is often the opposite. The opposite is true of what we instinctively believe. And so the more we try to do things the more we try to basically to follow our gut instincts, the more it screws us over. I'll give you an example, and this is slightly different, but you'll get the point. For an example, our instinct says if we get more and more engagement, we should get more leads. This is just an example of counterintuitive stuff. Yeah. Now, most people would think that's true. The reality is that what happens is when you get more engagement, it's a sign that you are broadening your appeal. When you broaden your appeal, you in effect weaken your message, which means the conversion goes down. So let's flip that the other way. And I've got a client doing this right now. They're sending 5 outreach messages a day, but they're spending 10 minutes figuring out what the problem of that business is. And they're sending a very personalized one-to-one message. There is no doubt that when the person gets this and reads this, they know this message was just written for them. It wasn't like a dear first name, company name. It was literally mapped out to them. Their response rate so their response rate's 22%, which is insane. But over the last 3 months, they have booked, of the 22% that have responded, 87% of them had booked meetings.
So that's about a 16% conversion rate, is it? If you work
Yes.
the math, 16%, which actually is unheard of, isn't it?
Yeah, because when you're in a market where access is easy, like now, you've got tools that can automate everything. You could send out 200 outreach messages a day. You've got AI tools that is clever, but not clever enough, personalized to a degree. Human beings can spot the patterns. I'll get this wrong now, but for every reaction, there is an equal and opposite, or for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, which is physics, right? It's physics saying basically I think it's the law of relativity or whatever it is. In other words, there is always another consequence of doing something. So you bring in tools to reach the world, you bring in AI, you bring in automation, which allows you to get to more people. You actually inadvertently dilute what you do, and so it's less effective. It's a bit like, okay, that person there, 22% response rate, 87% going on meetings. Why is that? Because you're doing less and you're doing more high quality.
So that's a great proof of the saying less is more.
It is. But even me, as I think about what I'm doing and changing in my business, I am also fighting my instinct that more is more. It's an instinct, more is more. And you'll know this with some clients. Some clients that maybe you've worked with, don't mention names, they will have scaled their business and inadvertently got a lower quality of life and less profit because of the way they scaled.
Correct.
And sometimes you can not scale a business, make more money, and have a better quality of life.
Almost back to that 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle, aren't we?
Yeah. And the problem for human beings is sometimes this stuff we know, but it's separate from our instinct, like our animal brain almost. It is no, more is more. And if I charge less, I'll get more customers, which isn't always true. So you have all these weird things, these effects that kind of, some of them just are counterintuitive. And we know they're counterintuitive, but we just they don't seem to click.
So one of the other things I loved about your book was you introduced us to the Gaddy Pitch.
Yeah, I met the guy actually from Australia after the book. But being able to tell people what you do in an intriguing way that makes sense really quickly, the elevator pitch is a good intro, should actually create more curiosity so that it starts a conversation. And the Gaddy pitch is just a really simple way of doing it. You know how business owners struggle to get clients? I help them do this. It's a really simple way, rather than go, I'm an accountant. It's just, it starts off, oh, that's interesting. How do you do that? And you start a whole conversation. And yeah, Anthony Gaddy, he's based in Australia, and we chatted a little bit on Zoom about where he come up with it, but it's brilliant. Just literally think about it, of start with, you know how such an audience has this problem, I help. And it's just a simple way to create curiosity around what you do.
So as a result of that, I actually changed my pitch, and actually it's starting to bear fruit for me, because I was always taught that you tease, not teach. Which we need to whet someone's appetite. We need to create curiosity. And basically, if I said to you I'm an accountant, a lot of people go, oh, boring. Because actually, accountancy isn't boring, but it's actually what you do about it. And basically what we're not actually doing so well is actually promoting our businesses, aren't we? And there's a number of people that we all know that do that. So one of the things I was interested in your book was that one of the skills that I think almost all businesses need to have a basic level of understanding is copywriting, because to actually get the message out there in the right way to attract the right audience can actually be difficult. And I think in your book, you explain a number of the methods of copywriting, and which one would potentially be the best to get started with. So I was going to ask you that. So there's basically 3 or 4 basic copywriting formats.
Yeah, AID is the good one. That's the most common one. But I like the P's as well. The problem, promise, proof, pitch, points, pitch. The key bit, I think, when you look at copywriting formats, there's like commonalities of them all, and they're all doing the same kind of job, just different structures. Structure gives us structure. Most of the time, a good structure is to help us and give the buyer a logical flow. But in essence, you need to know copywriting. Don't just rely on ChatGPT, because actually it's not that good. Because it's good at the frameworks, but what really works in copywriting is something very simple, is helping your audience, whoever you're talking to, see that you're talking about their specific problem. People are not buying generic solutions. They're buying something that fits their situation. And the closer you can name that, the more specific you can get, the more they'll pay attention. So when you look at copywriting, the key bit is, are you talking about a problem they've got? Are you talking about an outcome they want? And ChatGPT can do this formula, but often what it'll do, and I'll give you an example in my scenario, people want clients. In my world, they want clients, they want to get sales, they want leads. What often ChatGPT will do and AI will do is it'll change that word, and this is just an example: leads, clients, sales, make money, or it will change it to opportunities. Now you might think, what's the difference? Nobody's looking for opportunities. They're looking for it as a category, but they're actually looking, I want clients. They're saying it in their mind, I want a client. I need to make some money. I need to make some sales. So the closer you get to naming what they do, the better. So I think that's really important. Talk to the person about what they want and what problem they've got. And then fundamentally, the thing that makes people respond to copywriting is if you do 2 things, which sounds really easy, but took me 10 years to study to figure out to do. And even now I have to go through and write these 2 pieces of copy really deliberately. Lower the cost of action, the cost of doing something, reduce the perceived cost of doing something, and increase the cost of not doing it. So if somebody's reading your copy and you're asking them to do something, you have to make it feel expensive to not do it. So if I'm asking somebody to buy something from me, I have to remind them that not buying or doing nothing, continually to rely on referrals, risks the stability of their business. So that cost of inaction becomes very important. Understanding the cost of inaction and lowering the cost of taking action.
So it's almost a bit like coming back to the story brand, isn't it? Donald Miller's book. If you think about it,
I love that man. I love Donald Miller. I listen to everything he does. Story brand is brilliant. We're promoting somebody else's book now, but I don't mind because it's a brilliant book. The 5 sound bites. If every business understands their 5 sound bites, literally you can use them everywhere in any situation. And it's not a million miles away from the Gaddy Pitch, actually. The story brand and the 5 sound bites are not a million miles away from the Gaddy Pitch.
But I think what Donald Miller taught me about in the story brand is that our client is the hero. We're not the hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually that caused me, and I think maybe caused a number of people, to refocus how they interact with people, what they actually talk about, how they actually speak, isn't it? And I think not all heroes wear capes, do they?
No, you're absolutely right. And it's difficult because we are wired to want to talk about ourselves. But if you think about how this works if you go onto Google and ask, how do I get people more interested in me? Every answer will tell you if you want people more interested in you, you have to ask about them. And so the story brand is true on that front too, of make them the hero of the story, make the journey about their journey. Don't make you the hero of the journey. Oh, we can do this, and look how much we can help you, and look how good we are. And I look at some of the outreach messages that I receive, and a lot of them is, we're the hero, when actually you should be making me the hero.
And a lot of the outreach messages that you and I meet is a bit like the first date scenario, isn't it? Is that we jump into conclusions about what will happen and what we can do and offering things, when actually we need to build that relationship, we need to build that trust, isn't it?
We have to build that trust. Too many outreach messages, like basically certain pictures that some people send on dating sites, and going, I wonder if we can get it off because I've messaged you. That's not how business works. It's just not how it works.
And also potentially that's not how life works, is it? You know what I mean?
I would say it is how life works, but it's probably not a life you want, where every relationship, every interaction is transactional, which means you are disposable. If you think about it, if you operate transactionally, you'll build relationships that are transactional. And Donald Trump's very transactional. And if you look, he disposes of people as quickly as he does it, and people dispose of him as quickly as he does it. If you want to build that kind of life and that kind of business, good luck.
Good luck to you. That's what I say, but that's not for me. As my dear old dad used to say, it's not what we would do. It's not how we would do it, but doesn't mean to say it's wrong. It's obviously suits certain people, doesn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to do it personally.
What I loved about your book, it was that the chapter was the 90 days of social media content. There was literally loads in there that I thought, oh yeah, I should be doing that. That relates to me. I could do that. That's relatively easy to do. And I wondered whether you'd like to share with the people who are listening today about what will be the top 3 things on your 90 days of social media that will be easy to implement and potentially might actually get some results relatively quick.
So I have to remember what the 90 days are now. It's been a couple of years since I published the book, but a couple of things that are really, I would always say, I always like to every so often do an intro post where I basically say, I've not done this. I literally did one last week. I've not done this for a while. This is a little bit about me. Now, it is about me. I'm making myself the hero of the story, but people are curious to know about other people. So when you do that kind of post, it gives you the opportunity to say why you do what you do and what you do. So that's quite a good one. The other one that I'm a big fan of is telling a customer's story. Again, not making it about you. And I'm doing more and more of these right now, telling the story from the angle of the customer, what they did, what they were challenged with, and then not what I did, but what we did and how it changed them. So the more I now write about what the customer does, the more it seems to be relevant, and storytelling is so powerful. So anytime you can use a post where it tells a story of a before and an after, almost, of what was going on and what happened, and tell that journey, not every little step and not every last detail, just even summaries, really gets people to understand what you do. Because as soon as, it's a bit like Currys. Have you ever been into Currys? For those watch this, Currys is an electronics store, right? When you go into Currys or any kind of electronic, Best Buy if you're in the US, you walk in, and if there's somebody, the security alarms, there's usually sales team people hovering. Usually what they'll do is they'll walk up to, anything I can help you with. And even if you're in there looking for something and you know why you've gone in there, you'll say, no, thanks, I'm just looking. Because you know they're in sales mode. So I always say to people, it's better to tell a story of what's happening so people can engage with the story than just go out with a full frontal, this is what I can do, this is how I can help you. So just think about how can you tell it from somebody else's perspective, and they'll engage with it more.
So one of the interesting that you mentioned about retail sales, I don't know whether you've read the book about Richer Sound, Julian Richer, The Richer Way. They've got the highest sales per square foot of any retail outlet in the UK. And the reason why is because they are so knowledgeable about the product. And they know so much about it, and they will say, actually, Dean, that's not the right one for you. Have you looked at this one? And okay, it might be a lower price. So they're not necessarily thinking about their commission or their sales value. They're thinking about you as a customer. I think we can almost come full circle back to the Richer Way actually puts you as the customer, as the hero in the story.
Yeah.
It's what you want. It's what you want to do. So we've been speaking for quite a while today, and I just wondered if there was one piece of wisdom, one piece of things that you'd like to say to people that are listening, what would that be?
I'd have to give some advice. I'd give some advice to my 18-year-old self. So I would say, if most of your business is coming from referrals, or you're complacent in where you're getting your business right now, think about opening another channel to develop new business. And I would do it early, so you've got time to figure out how it works. And I would do what I call the 5 1s. Pick one problem, pick one audience, build a service around it, one offer, then create your message for your content and how you communicate it, and then pick one way to do it and master that, because you can make a lot of money just doing the 5 1s. There are some people who sell one product, one service, and are in multi-million-dollar businesses, and a lot of people miss that. So I would say master the 5 1s and don't rely on referrals. Referrals are great, but don't rely on them.
I think if we look back years pre-internet age, we used to think that referrals were the best way to improve our business, because if I look back to my early days, I always used to believe any customer is better than no customer. But basically what's happened now with the internet is that if we are using your 5 1s, that we are just targeting one audience with one problem, the world is your oyster. There is actually so many people out there that we could serve, isn't it? That we could help.
Yeah. And this is one of my pivots I'm doing. I've alluded to it a little bit, is I've looked, and there is a market in the UK and US that I could serve that actually is huge. And if I got 0.01% of that market, I'd have a $10 million business. And I'm like, why have I not done that? It doesn't make sense. So that's what my big plan is, that maybe we'll talk about another time when I'm allowed to tell you more.
I'd like to thank you for spending the time with us today, Dean. And if someone wants to work with you or wants to learn more, wants to get in touch with you, how should they do that?
Best way is find me on LinkedIn or find my website, deanseddon.io.
And then you're probably like me, because I know you are, that basically you connect with a lot of people. And if you could have a few comments to help people on their journey, I think you'd be more than happy to do that. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. Anybody, people often message me and say, can I pick your brains? And I'll happily let them pick my brains.
No problem at all. Thank you for appearing today, Dean. I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you for our time. been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Thank you. I appreciate it.